So, hmm, okay. So, our first question that she has for us is about the deportation. Um, so with each three of the videos we watch, she wants to talk about who's being deported and for what reason. Um, and then how the concept of, or act of deportation review, who can and cannot be an American. So, I mean, we can start off with the first one. She gave us a sentence home. Was a documentary, pretty sure it was.
Yeah, it was like an hour long.
Yeah, that was a long one.
Yeah.
And I followed like I think like two or three people, right? It was like two
Yeah,
or three.
it was like I think three or yeah, I think
Only three.
yeah, three.
Yeah.
Um,
And I believe I'm not sure. I think it was all of them, but they were all they all had a criminal background, like and that's why they
they got deported.
yeah. hmm
Yeah,
So
because oh,
sorry. No,
you can go. You can go.
okay. I was just gonna say it's kind of I think I don't know if it takes place when we were talking about this like way back, but I remember when we were talking about um when they had to leave their homes and stuff. Was that the same? Do you guys think that was the same time as this video or was it like way after? I think it was, I don't know. But anyways, that's all I was gonna say.
Before, I think it's before.
Before? Okay. Because I
Yeah.
was confused because I know like a lot of like that happened to a lot of Asian Americans, so I didn't know if it was if you get what I'm saying. I didn't know if it was like
It might have been a little bit during that time.
Maybe so.
I know, I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, that's all I was gonna say.
I also like took like some of them where they talked about how they came over here like 1984 because they
Yeah.
were in like refugee camps due to like the war that was going on over there in Cambodia for them. And so they said that when they got to America, they thought they were going to be American as well.
Yeah, I remember him saying.
But it was the complete opposite. Like they were obviously seen as outsiders, and he said they were like the minority within the minority, and they just felt lost on what to do. I remember one of them saying that like they would be seen as like gangs in Seattle, but like to them it was just like them as a family trying to protect themselves from other people. But they're thought of as like a gang just because of like how many there was. It was also said that it was 1996 where Congress changed immigration law to crack down on terrorism and illegal immigration. So that's kind of how they got well, they're getting deported because they did have a criminal uh background for like whatever they did. If it was something like minor, um
And
the
even
law went after them.
sorry, even when they got like when they had to be or when they were sent back, like the Cambodia wasn't not accepting them too, like wasn't accepting.
Yeah,
And so
they weren't.
that's crazy. How so it's like what are you supposed to do, at that point?
Yeah, Cambodia wasn't accepting back people or stuff like that. So then the US, I think, like basically forced them to go back and push like Cambodia to accept them.
And then I remember also in the when they started accepting them back, it was June of 2002 after 9/11 because like how many I think it was not necessarily backed up, but like just with everything that had happened with 9/11, they were being like I think more countries were like helping us, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. They also said like and also 1996, And it was denied permanent residents convicted of violent crimes the chance to challenge deportation based on the years they lived in the U.S. So even if they were there from like as a toddler, like they were still challenged
Oh yeah.
of deportation. Like they basically grew up there, but they still gotta get deported.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like,
And then I remember one of them got detained when he went to go try to get his citizenship card. Because of like a crime he did like a long
way
time
back.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said like he did the time and everything for it,
But he's still,
but they're still gonna send him back due to like what Congress had like uh the new thing that Congress has put out. Yeah, so then while he was detained in jail,
yeah, and he spent, I
um,
believe it was 2.5 years that he
yeah, I
had
think
to
so. He
like.
was detained, yeah.
Mhm.
In
And
the
it was
INS.
because of the 1996 law, which
Yeah, kind of screwed over a lot of things.
yeah, seriously.
And then I remember it was said that a lot of them didn't try to get their citizenship or put it off because um they were like they felt really unprepared for it because it was 100 questions that they had to answer correctly in order to become a citizen of the US. So many of them just felt unprepared and like not like there was nothing to prepare them at all for it. So they would just put it off.
Mm-hmm. And in the lecture video, I also remember her saying that um people who entered the US from um Southeast Asia as refugees are still alive today. So that's pretty crazy because some of them are still,
Yeah,
alive.
remember that.
So like if we were to ever like I'm pretty sure they would be able to like give us like a better explanation of everything,
Yeah.
like well, like
Yeah.
like in the video too, how they explained their life and situation be like similar. It could be similar.
Like a little reference to the keywords of the deportation.
Oh yeah.
It said that Asians did not dutifully accede to the systemic efforts to control their presence in the United States. As a result, some were undocumented. So I feel like it kind of goes back to where they like didn't want to, or like they put off gaining the citizenship and taking the test because they didn't feel prepared at all for it. And being undocumented kind of goes into like the little short documentary that was called Harmony, I think,
Mm-hmm.
where it followed this guy named Ju Hong, and he was an undocumented immigrant. Um, and being undocumented, it limited his rights and privileges compared to those that were U.S. citizens. Um, yeah, so being undocumented, he couldn't receive any financial aid, get his driver's license, um, and he faced deportation if he ever wanted to leave outside the country to go visit his family. Mm. That was a really sad documentary. The Halloween one.
Yeah, it was. Definitely was.
With him and his grandma.
That really got to me in a way because like I know this is off topic, but my grandma recently passed in May, and like seeing how he lost his grandma and like due to her sickness, he couldn't be there for her. I was like, ouch, that really hurts. Because I had my grandma here, but then she was in a like facility for hospice already because she was already gonna die. I was like, I couldn't even be there with her, so I could imagine his pain not being there with her. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yep. I feel it. I
For
felt that
sure.
definitely.
She was
Because
sad.
during COVID, like you weren't allowed to go in and it's like it sucked, you know.
Mhm.
Because I mean, like how are like how are you supposed to say goodbye? Like you can't go in and say goodbye, which I get it though, because like you want to protect yourself. But like for me, like my grandpa passed away from COVID, and so like to that video too, it hit me a little too, because it's like how I couldn't, none of us could say goodbye, only my dad, but he had to dress up in like a big like suit, and it was crazy. But even his own wife couldn't say goodbye, so it's like it's pretty crazy how, or how I guess we could all, or we could relate to that.
Yeah, for sure. Luckily, he was able to go see her one final time though, due to the new immigration policy that was added.
Mhm.
That was called the DADC, which permitted some undocumented individuals to visit their family for 20 days before returning back to the U.S. Luckily, he was able to go see his grandma then. But it was like all these undocumented immigrants like were really restricted on a lot of things they were able to do in America. And they weren't even considered like US citizens at all either.
I know, that's
They
crazy.
were considered like aliens. As I want them to send the videos, they were considered aliens. Like that's what they're labeled as.
Yeah, I remember one of the, I forget his name, but he was said that, like he was like, yeah, that's what they labeled us as, aliens. Like he said it all like sarcastically in a way, but like that's,
Yeah.
I get him. Like I don't understand why that even had to be a label. Like, oh yeah, he was like, I'm not from planet Mars or something.
Yeah. Because I'm not from Mars, but I'm labeled as an alien.
Yeah.
Damn. And the last video about deportation was about the 41-year-old, I think, right?
Wait, what'd you say? I'm sorry.
The last deportation video that we watched was about the 41-year-old adoptee.
Yeah, I think so.
His name was Shin Sung Hyuk, but they changed his name to Adam when he came over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was adopted by someone from Detroit and got his name changed to Adam. But the forms that they had to fill out to guarantee his citizenship weren't filled out for like international adoptees, which also meant he was another undocumented immigrant, just like the other one. He also had a very sad story too
Yeah, he did.
with his thing. Like the parents didn't want him anymore, so he got sent to an adoption agency. And he
Yeah.
got adopted by a family from Oregon, and then they were just like basically abusive to him.
Yeah, that's sad. And then him having to go through that and also go through just like all of this, like that's a lot.
Yeah, and then he was he was undocumented immigrant, but then he also got caught. What was he like? He had convicted of a felony because he went back to people's house in Oregon, the family who adopted him, who was abusive, and he broke in to get like his two things that were left behind. And then he was caught, and then he was convicted of felony. So at that point, that's when they were like, "Hey, we're gonna deport you because you committed this crime,"
Yeah.
which was like,
Which technically was not a
Oh.
crime, like, especially since it was his things. Like, I don't feel
yeah,
like,
like he lived there. He wasn't just
Yeah.
like a stranger to the place.
I know, and he wasn't, it's not like he took their things. Like,
No,
He just wanted his things to get out, and that's it. But no, they stopped him.
I know.
for real. And the judge, I remember it said like the judge had like zero discretion on like what was being said and done. So like the question is like how is the act or concept of deportation review who can and cannot become American? I feel like it's based on your like status. If you have your citizenship, and it's like, oh, if you have that, you're American. That's one way it seems to be like,
Yeah.
because a lot of these were like undocumented immigrants and or ones that just didn't have a citizenship or a green card, and because they had committed crime and they were not a citizen, they were being sent back. I feel like it might have been a different story if they were a citizen of the US and may have committed like a small crime like they did. I don't think they would have been deported as they were.
Hmm.
So basically just sits on like your status as a citizen in the state or in the country. So then moving on now to media. Name 1 to 2 dominant stereotypes of Asian Americans in the US/Western media. Share at least one concrete example. Okay. Oh. So I remember the video that I watched was the history of Asian representations in media. It talked about how like a common Asian stereotype for women would when they entered like the Hollywood scene to act, they were either portrayed as what they said a lotus blossom dragon lady or a prostitute most of the times. They're portrayed as, or they're portrayed as villains. And like an example of that would be in the movie Rush Hour 2. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that one with Jackie. Was it Jackie Chan? Yeah, it should be with Jackie Chan. Rush Hour 2. Yeah, with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. There was a scene where they were at this like spa or whatever, and like this lady came up to them and was like, choose like who you want. And it was like at least 30 Asian women that were like prostitutes, and they're just like pick one of them. So it's kind of like an example of how like they are portrayed as like prostitutes in movies.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a really dominant stereotype back in the day too.
Yeah.
I also there was another movie called Puccini's Mountain Butterfly that they talked about, um, which follows a submissive woman, an Asian woman, um, that like a white man conquers and like marries, and then she like rejects him at the end. That's kind of like another like big stereotype of uh like Asian women being like conquered by white men. Then mm, mm, in in keywords or media, in keywords media, it said that popular images and representations of Asian and Asian Americans in mass culture and Asian American responses to mainstream stereotypes historically, the dominant representations of the news, Asian Americans in mainstream media derived from the US immigration and naturalization laws and labor policies. So basically the like the main and dominant stereotypes come from the naturalization law and labor policies that were put into place like a while back. Um, yeah, so like for example, like when uh, it was like an Asian woman tried to come into the U.S. and like she was kind of seen as like they were brought in mostly to the U.S. as prostitutes. So when they try to become like to the U.S. themselves or like get citizenship, they were thought of to be as prostitutes back then,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of like hints to like a dominant stereotype in these Hollywood movies where an Asian actress plays a prostitute in a movie. I feel like that's kind of where it comes into play right there.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
like
also how
I
like
realized that too. Like I like movies I've watched before now, like it makes me realize that. Like I never really I didn't really notice it, like because I don't really pay attention that much, but like you know what I mean? Now it's
yeah,
like learning more things, you start to notice them more like, you know, in a date on a daily basis.
yeah, for sure. Like I didn't, I like I'm a fan of like the Rush Hour series. So like I didn't realize that until like it was pointed out.
Mhm.
It made me like think again. I was like,
Yeah.
or like in one of the lectures that our professor gave, she showed us a clip of the Pacific Rim, like towards the ending of it,
Mhm.
and it was with the Asian actor and the white male, and like how it was kind of like an awkward hug that they gave.
Yeah.
So I think also with like the white male and the Asian woman was like when they came over here, they're mostly like white men will like try to either like get at an Asian woman or will like have prostitutes of Asian women. So I
Mhm.
kind of like roots back to like the history of like a white man dominating um Asian women or them being seen as prostitutes in these Hollywood movies.
And like my dad used to be in the military, and he was stationed in Japan one time, and a lot of like the you know, the Marines or whatever, the military, Marines, Army, whatever, they would always get with Asian American women always. Like it was, so I feel like that could also like, you know, tie into different, like
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And my dad told
yeah,
me that. He always told me that. My dad never did, but he all his like friends and buddies always did. But they the thing is they weren't like they weren't trying to build a relationship with them. They were just literally, you know, like one night stand type, you know, which is
yeah,
pretty screwed up. So it could like go into, you know, like you said, the movies, or like how they're like Asian American women are, you know, used as prostitutes in movies, or you know what you were saying.
yeah.
So,
Portrayed as like those type of things. It's pretty interesting. Like I did not notice that in some movies I watch.
mhm.
But I think that's all for this, right? We're up to the last one's the war.
Mhm.
We'll talk about the war and how might the themes of deportation and media in Asian America be connected to the larger theme of war? So that is the question. Um, so okay, one way I think war has like played a part into deportation was because, excuse me, um, how like some of the like from the documentaries, how some of them came in as refugees to the United States due to war, and that was caused by war, right? So they came over here and they were like undocumented and stuff because they're refugees brought in, you know, by the U.S. And due to all this other stuff that came in, these laws, they got deported for like whatever the case. Most cases, they're like they had like some criminal record. So I feel like that's like one way war can plays a part into deportation. It's kind of ironic how I just realized it's kind of ironic that like there are refugee camps set up for these Asians that were in war, and like the basically the U.S. brought them in, and then a couple years later, like they're deporting them back.
Yeah, like what, like
I
why
was
did
like,
you even
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you
Why
brought
did
them in for a reason to get them away from that.
yeah.
They just come back over else. It doesn't make any sense, man.
It's like, yeah, like what was the reason for them to go through all that? Like when they
Yeah.
didn't when they accept when they took them in the beginning, like
Mhm. Oh, here's the thing. So in the keywords for war, it said many American military personnel who participated in the post-war occupation of Japan became romantically involved with Japanese women, kind of hinting to the media stereotypes that we get today in movies. Either one, them being prostitutes, or being seen as a villain, or being dominated by a white male. Yeah, I feel yeah. Yeah, and then what was passed was the War Brides. There you go. The War Brides thing act was passed for the Asian woman to come over for the white men. They wanted them. I brought them over to the US. So
it's
it's how
crazy
it
'cause, like
connects.
technically the US was like using them, if you think about it. Like
Yeah.
like they used them in a lot of different like situations, obviously, but it's crazy.
Yeah. And like it all connects together. Like the
Mhm.
war, the deportation, media.
Yeah.
That straight wild. But in one of a professor's lecture, she said that stereotypes in the late 19th and 20th centuries were advanced by white or ethnic factors. It's kind of ironic how like those stereotypes were advanced more when like back then they were like using them as like those Asian American women as like either prostitutes to sell or just taking advantage of them. And they're mostly white males that did that. So but I think that covers everything.
Yeah, I think
I don't
so.
know if you guys have anything else to say or anything interesting you guys found out.
Yeah, I mean overall it's just very like interesting, and like all these three videos, like if you like were able to connect, like we were saying, like it just all connects, like it all
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense, so it's very interesting. And yeah,
It was some sad videos, man.
yeah, they were very sad, but
They're
I feel like,
little too deep. A little too
yeah.
deep.
Okay, so should I stop recording? Yeah, we're good.
I
Yeah, we're good.